evening, Northern Colorado. This is Kyle, W0KJM. I'm located in Fort Collins, and I will be net control for tonight's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club TechNet. The purpose of the TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We will do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of all those who are listening. If there's a subject that has never been made quite clear to you, this is a great opportunity to find an answer. If anyone feels they have information that will help regarding that subject, please give your call sign, and Net Control will call on you. The net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We will acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you are clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. Club membership is encouraged, but not required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation, and no checkout is required. This is W0KJM, Net Control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location. When checking in, please state if you will have a topic that you would like to I swear I can speak English. Please state if you have a topic that you would like to discuss. Check-ins will be taken in groups of 3. When I have acknowledged the first group of 3, I will then move on to the next group of 3. I will start by taking check-ins from call suffixes alpha through Mike. Alpha through Mike, please call now.
K0MLG, Kilo 0, Mike Lima Golf, Marty, Wellington.
0, CFB, David, and Longmont, no topic.
Net Control would like to acknowledge K0MLG, and David, could I get your call sign one more time? I copied CFD.
Sure. Kilo Foxtrot 0, Charlie Foxtrot Delta, KF0, CFD, David, and Longmont, no traffic.
Fantastic, David. Net Control would like to acknowledge KF0, CFD. I'll take the next group of 3, Alpha through Mike. Please call now.
K0YAV, Kilo Echo 0, Yankee Alpha Victor, Eric in Windsor, no traffic.
And Kilo Alpha 6, Echo Tango Echo, KA6, ETE, Jim in Loveland.
This is Alpha Echo 0 Kilo Oscar, AE0KO, Brad Mobile in Wellington.
Fantastic. Net Control would like to acknowledge KE0YAV, KA6ETE, and AE0KO. I'll take the next group of 3, Alpha through Mike. Please call now.
This is K0AZA, Kilo 0 Alpha Zulu Alpha, Ron in Fort Collins, and I did have a question.
This is KF0GQH, Kilo Foxtrot 0 Golf Quebec Hotel in Wellington, no traffic.
KD0EXV, Kilo Delta 0, Echo X-Ray Victor, Brian Greeley, no traffic.
Net Control would like to recognize K0AZA, KF0GQH, and KD0EXV. I'll take the next group of 3. Please call now.
This is N0EMP, November 0, Echo Mike Papa, Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie, K0DBE, Kilo 0 Delta Bravo Echo, no traffic.
This is KF0LES, Kilo Foxtrot 0 Lima Echo Sierra, Greg in Fort Collins.
November 0 Delta, November Yankee, November 0 Delta, November Yankee, Jim in Fort Collins, Mobile.
For your voices, and I already know the call signs and get them down. It's starting to get easier and easier. I'll take the next group of 3, Alpha through Mike. Please call now.
This is K0YAV, Kilo Echo 0, Yankee Alpha Victor, Eric in Windsor, no traffic.
November 0 Delta, November Yankee, Jim in Fort Collins, and 0 DNY.
Net Control would like to acknowledge K0YAV and N0DNY. We'll open it up to all suffixes Alpha through Zulu. Alpha through Zulu, please call now.
Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, Justin, Mobile, Fort Collins.
Kilo 5, Sierra Golf Charlie, Dave, Fort Collins.
K0UT, Kilo 0 Uniform Tango,
in Fort Collins.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong here. I got Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, Kilo 5, Sierra Golf Charlie, and Kilo 0 Uniform Tango. Well, nobody's correcting me, so it sounds like I got them right. We'll take the next group of 3. Please call now.
W0LEI, Whiskey 0 Lima Echo India, Chad and Stout, no traffic.
Alpha Echo 0 Charlie Foxtrot AE0CF, Ben, Fort Collins.
Next, we'll like to acknowledge W0LEI and AE0CF. Are there any other check-ins, any station, Alpha through Zulu? Please call now. All right, well, hearing none, let's begin with K0AZA. Ron, you had a question?
I do. Thank you, Kyle. It's K0AZA. It's not exactly a ham question. It's actually pertaining to marine radios, but I figured it was close enough. I have a friend that officiates yacht races on San Francisco Bay. They use marine radios, VHF radios. They're, as I understand it, mounted in boats. They have antennas up on masts. She said that they can't get 1.2 miles, the distance between her location and either start or finish line. So they get relegated to having to break out their cell phones for communications. And I'm scratching my head. I did research on marine radios because I know nothing about them. Apparently the typical marine radio is a 25-watt radio, but it does have a 1-watt setting for when you're in the bay, you can knock the power down. So I'm scratching my head as to saying, how come a 25-watt, essentially a mobile radio with an antenna mounted presumably on the mast, these are sailboats, can't talk 1.2 miles over water? Didn't make any sense to me. I only had one thought. Let me do a reset real quickly and I'll share that. These folks are not necessarily technically oriented, and I'm wondering if the possibility that maybe they have their 25-watt radios all set to 1 watt so they don't have the power. I would still think 1 watt ought to get you 1.2 miles over water. But anyway, I thought I'd throw this out and see if anyone has any experience with marine radios, if they had any thoughts, or just generally thinking about power propagation, if there's anything I might be overlooking.
LEI.
Go on ahead.
Just a fast background. I put 27 years in the Navy and worked on all kinds of equipment. I would recommend checking for corrosion in the transmission line connectors and making sure the antenna was securely grounded. Just a recommendation, basic troubleshooting. Go.
Great suggestions. Thank you.
Okay, 6ET.
ET, go ahead and take it away.
I will second the basic troubleshooting, check for corrosion, bad feed lines, even bad radio. I grew up fishing on the Great Lakes out in Michigan, where the standard VHF marine radio that we had on our boat, we had no issues talking 15, 20 miles a year, well over the line of sight. 1.5 miles isn't even close to approaching line of sight, so I wouldn't even consider it a power issue. 1 watt should have no issues whatsoever. They should be able to do that with HTs. So I would definitely recommend going through, checking all of the coax connections, radio connections, even go as far as pulling the cover off the radio, checking for corrosion internally. They are very susceptible to that, especially if out on salt water.
Great. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
This is W0KJM, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. I also had a question. What exactly are the differences between a marine radio and a ham radio? Is it just like mostly different frequency allocations? And I'm sure they're more like not necessarily ruggedized, but like waterproofed and other things, like physically. But other than that, is it just a slightly different like frequency allocation?
Yeah, I'm making sure I have this. So everything I know I learned in the past day on the internet, so I'm sure that there are others that can pipe in. But it's a different frequency. It's 150 some odd megahertz roughly. I don't remember the exact, 150, 160. So close to our VHF, and it's channelized. So in that case, in that regard, it's kind of like GMRS, where you've got predefined channels. Other than that, it seems like a lot of the radios have an IP rating, so they're obviously a bit more waterproof. And they're 25 watts peak power, 1 watt for bay use. That was what I saw to be the major differences, but again, probably one of these other folks that have actually used one might have more input. K0AZA, back to that.
Thanks, Ron. I was also wondering, are there any like licensings that you need to get for that, kind of like GMRS or anything, or is it just free to anyone with a boat?
I have no idea on that one.
Interesting. Well, I'll definitely have to do a little bit more research into that. Not that I have a boat or any real useful purpose for having that knowledge, but just a little curious. Well, are there any additional comments, questions, or discussion for the net this evening?
MLZ.
Go ahead, Marty.
License required, but it's not intended for land use. It's intended for boats and marinas. There's a company called Seatow. It's basically a towing company for boats. They'll have it. So yeah, it's for water use only, no license required. And you didn't hear it from me, but your ham radio will transmit on those frequencies if you tell it to. I figure in a life-saving emergency, it really doesn't matter if the FCC likes it or not. K0 MLG.
ET.
Well, thanks, Marty, and ET, go ahead.
Add a little bit to what Marty said. The marine radio does, under certain circumstances, does require the standard marine VHF marine radio that you see on the boats around here that are generally under 60 foot do not require a license, but can only be operated well on the water. They can not be operated off of the water whatsoever. If your boat is greater than 60 feet in length, you are eligible for additional band privileges outside of the standard 155 through 160 megahertz VHF frequencies. You can get up into HF frequencies and a lot bigger spectrum of frequencies available if your vessel is large enough. That does require a permit, so it's kind of a two-sided coin. If you're a small boat on inland lakes, you do not require one for the standard VHF. If you are on the Great Lakes or the oceans or any large body of water with a large boat, it does require a license.
Very good to know. Not that I plan on getting a boat anytime soon, but just fun little tidbit of information. Thank you all. Well, with that, are there any additional comments, questions, or other discussions for the net this evening?
Well, I have a comment for you.
Go right ahead.
Well, you might be at shore wanting to get a hold of Jim that has a boat or me that has a boat because we're going to take you on the water. That would be a good use for that. Anyway, I did not know that, Jim. Thanks for clarifying. K0MLG. Good job, Kyle.
Well, next time you guys are out on the water, I'm going to have to swing by and just dip my toes in the water and say hello to you then. Looks like I'm going to need to get a marine radio to appease the FCC so that way they don't come and take my anytone away. Any other topics for tonight's TechNet?
The ET with an announcement.
Go right on ahead.
I just wanted to remind everyone, I don't know how many people listening have been chasing the W1AW portable stations this year for the Volunteers on the Air, but the Colorado portion of it, the first week of the Colorado portion, begins tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Technically, it's Wednesday at 0 Zulu, which is 6 p.m. our time tomorrow. I know it's We can organize VHF, UHF simplex contacts for those that are chasing. I will also be operating a couple of my time slots. I have a total of 10 time slots that I'll be operating. I will be doing 40-meter invis and possibly some 80-meter invis depending on propagation to allow the more local contacts that have been chasing it to be able to get Colorado in the log for the W1AW. I just wanted to throw that out there, remind everyone, let them know that I will be operating invis on some of my time slots. If anyone's interested and wants to work out the time or find anything out, you can send me an email, get a hold of me on here, anywhere, and we can work something out. K6ETE, back to net.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jim. Do we have any other topics for tonight's TechNet? This is W0KJM, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet.
K0MLG with another announcement.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I should quit multitasking. I'm the communications coordinator for CAST for Kids. CAST stands for Catch a Special Thrill, and it's not just kids, there's adults, but quote, special needs. That's June 3rd at Horsetooth Reservoir at South Bay. I need about another 6 people or so. I've already got 2 volunteers. I will be on my boat, but I'll still be the boss, I guess. So I need about 6 or 7. That's June 3rd, South Bay at Horsetooth Reservoir, 0600 to, well, we start pulling the boats off around 11. So if you don't want to hang around for a catered barbecue lunch and the awards for the kids, that's fine. You can go home, reset. It's one of the best things you've ever done in ham radio to watch these people just light up with, full of life because they've done something that they've never done, or there's several families that have done this for years and years and years, but it's a special time for every time they do it. They're on a different boat. It's just a different time. But if you're interested in that, like I said, June 3rd, 06. It's a little early, but a little hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry. A little early. There's donuts, coffee in the morning, then like I said, catered lunch and awards. And my email address is Kilo Charlie 0 Quebec Oscar Kilo at Gmail, KC0QOK@gmail.com. If you're interested in helping, you'll have a good time. Back to net, K0MLG.
Super cool, Marty. I'm going to request time off on work, and I'll keep you updated. If I get approved for that in time, I'll definitely love to come check that out and hang out with you. It sounds like a good time. This is W0KJM, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. Are there any late check-ins, additional comments, questions, or other discussion for the net this evening?
Late check-in, Kilo 1 Delta Charlie Yankee, Firestone.
Could I get your call sign one more time, a little slower, please?
Kilo 1 Delta Charlie Yankee, Derek in Firestone.
I copy K1DCY. Thanks, Derek. Any other late check-ins?
K0 Alpha Echo Mike, Steve in Fort Collins.
K0AEM, Steve?
Roger.
Fantastic. Any other late check-ins?
Whiskey 2, Mike, India, Charlie, Mark, Loveland.
There's a call sign I recognize, W2MIC. Thanks for checking in. Any other late check-ins? Any additional comments, questions, or other discussion before we close the net this evening? Wow, this is going to be a short one. Well, I guess I'll ask one more time. Any additional comments, questions, late check-ins, or anything else before we close the net this evening?
Oscar Bravo Charlie, question.
Go ahead.
I can't remember if I've asked this before or not. I seem to forget a lot of things. Does anybody dabble with doing satellite communications? I've got a Arrow antenna I've been kind of tinkering with. I've had for years, and recently ordered a duplexer for it, a low wattage duplexer they offer for it, and modified the boom so it's a little easier to store. It's kind of unwieldy at 3 feet long. But I've been trying to read up on satellite communications and try and use some of this ham stuff I've acquired over the years and trying to wrap my head around it, but sometimes I could use some show and tell. So the ultimate question is, anybody do anything with satellites? Kilo Golf 6, Oscar, Bravo, Charlie.
Oh, man, I wish I knew the answer. This is W0KJM, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. Man, I wish I had the time to play with satellites. That sounds like fun. I wish I knew the answer for you, but sadly we don't. Maybe next Monday, try again, and I'm sure somebody will be there to answer that question for you. But I just had a question pop into my head because I got a new vehicle recently, and I have a weird spot where my antenna goes. On my old car, it was perfectly square in the middle of my trunk lid. Well, now that I have an SUV, it's not super easy to plop things right in the middle, so I have it on the driver rear corner of my vehicle. Is that going to dramatically affect me in a negative way, or how does that play out, having it in that back left corner?
And zero EMP.
Take it away.
Is it still up on the roof? I know it's the back corner, but is it still up where the base is up on the rooftop?
Yes, it's still on the roof, and it's actually in a higher location than on the old vehicle, so I was thinking that might actually help me a little bit too, but yes, it is still on the roof. And
this is a VHF, UHF antenna?
Yep, it's a quarter wave from, I think it's a Motorola antenna. It goes on a NMO mount and everything.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Fantastic, good to know. Excuse me. Goodness, I had a frog jump in my throat out of nowhere. Didn't want to share that on the radio. Well, are there any additional comments, questions, or other discussions for the net this evening? Alrighty, well, hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a total of, let me count my tally here, 21 check-ins. This net will occur next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is W0KJM, closing the TechNet at, 6:30 local time. Good night, and thanks everyone for checking in. W0KJM, this will be clear.